I never believed in fate until I moved into the little cottage on Rosewood Lane. My name is Emma, and at 25, I was finally ready to start over after a difficult breakup. The house was perfect, small but charming, with a wraparound porch and huge windows that let in streams of golden light. The property next door immediately caught my attention. Behind an ornate iron gate stood a Victorian mansion painted deep purple with intricate white trim. The gardens were extraordinary. Roses climbed every surface, and pathways wound between carefully tended flower beds. But in the month I'd been there, I'd never seen who maintained such perfection. That changed on a Wednesday evening, when I was struggling to hang string lights on my porch. A ladder wasn't cooperating, and I was getting frustrated when I heard a warm voice behind me. "Those lights would look beautiful there, but you need a steadier foundation." I turned to see the most striking woman I'd ever encountered. She was probably in her early 30s, with long dark hair and the most intense brown eyes. She wore a flowing emerald dress that seemed to shimmer in the twilight. Scene 4. "I'm Sophia," she said, extending her hand with elegant grace. "I live next door. You must be the new neighbor who's been bringing such lovely energy to our quiet street." Her hand was warm and soft, and when our fingers touched, I felt an unexpected jolt of electricity. "Emma," I managed, "and thank you. I'm trying to make the place feel like home." "I'm Sophia," she said, extending her hand with elegant grace. "I live next door. You must be the new neighbor who's been bringing such lovely energy to our quiet street." Her hand was warm and soft, and when our fingers touched, I felt an unexpected jolt of electricity. "Emma," I managed, "and thank you. I'm trying to make the place feel like home." As Sophia helped me secure the lights, I found myself stealing glances at her profile. There was something almost otherworldly about her. The way she moved with perfect grace, how she seemed to anticipate exactly what I needed before I asked. "There," she said softly as the last light was clipped into place. "Perfect." But when I looked up, she was looking at me, not the lights, and something in her expression made my breath catch. Over the following weeks, Sophia and I developed a routine that felt both natural and charged with possibility. She'd appear in her garden each morning like clockwork, tending to flowers that seemed to bloom more vibrantly under her care. I started timing my coffee breaks to coincide with these moments, standing at my kitchen window and watching her graceful movements. Our conversations began as simple pleasantries over the garden gate, but gradually deepened into something more meaningful. I learned that she was an artist who worked from her home studio, creating paintings that local galleries competed to display. She spoke about color and light with a passion that made her eyes sparkle. "Would you like to see my studio sometime?" she asked one evening as we both worked in our respective gardens. The invitation felt loaded with possibility, and I found myself nodding before I could overthink it. Her studio was a converted conservatory filled with canvases in various stages of completion. The space smelled of oil paints and lavender, and afternoon light streamed through glass panels, casting everything in a golden glow. But what took my breath away were the paintings themselves, landscapes that seemed to pulse with life, portraits that captured something deeper than mere appearance. "This is incredible," I breathed, stopping before a painting of a woman dancing in a moonlit garden. You're incredibly talented. Art is about capturing truth, Sophia said, moving to stand beside me. Sometimes the most beautiful truths are the ones we're afraid to acknowledge. The attraction between us became impossible to ignore. Every conversation felt charged with unspoken desires. Every accidental touch sent electricity through my body. I found myself thinking about Sophia at all hours, wondering what her lips would feel like, how her hair would feel between my fingers. One evening, she invited me for dinner in her garden. She'd set up a small table among the roses, with candles flickering in glass holders, and wine breathing in crystal glasses. Everything felt deliberately romantic, and I couldn't help but wonder if she felt the same pull I did. "Tell me about your dreams, Emma," she said as we shared dessert. "What makes your heart race?" The question felt loaded, and when I met her eyes across the table, I saw desire flickering there like the candlelight between us. "Right now," I said, surprising myself with my boldness. "This, you, the way you look at me like you can see straight into my soul." Sophia's breath caught, and she reached across the table to cover my hand with hers. "Emma," she said softly, "there are things about me you don't understand. Complications that make this dangerous." "What kind of complications?" I asked, but instead of answering, she stood abruptly. "I should go," I said finally, confused by her sudden distance. But as I gathered my things, Sophia caught my wrist gently. "Don't give up on me," she whispered. "Please. Just give me time to figure out how to do this right." 3 days passed without seeing Sophia, and I was going crazy with worry and want. Every time I looked toward her house, the windows seemed dark, as if she'd vanished entirely. I was beginning to think I'd imagined the connection between us when she appeared at my door late on a Friday night. She stood in the rain without an umbrella, her hair plastered to her head, and her dress clinging to her body. "I can't stay away from you anymore," she said, her voice raw with emotion. "I've tried, but you're in every thought, every breath." I pulled her inside without hesitation, grabbing towels to dry her hair while she stood shivering in my living room. "Sophia, what's going on? What are you so afraid of?" "Of hurting you," she said, catching my hands as I tried to towel her dry. "Of wanting you so much it consumes everything else. Of crossing lines I can never uncross." "What if I want you to cross those lines?" I whispered, stepping closer until there was barely any space between us. "What if I want to be consumed?" The air between us crackled with tension. Sophia's eyes searched my face like she was memorizing every detail. And when her hand came up to cup my cheek, I leaned into the touch with a soft sigh. Later, as we lay tangled together on my couch, Sophia traced lazy patterns on my shoulder. "There's no going back from this," she said softly. "Good," I murmured against her neck. "I don't want to go back. I want to go forward, with you." Morning brought clarity and conversation. Sophia finally told me about her past, a difficult relationship that had ended badly, leaving her wary of opening her heart again. She'd moved to Rosewood Lane to start over, but hadn't expected to fall in love with her neighbor. "I want to try this," she said as we shared coffee on my porch, watching the sunrise paint her garden in shades of gold and pink. "But I need you to know it won't always be easy. I have walls that take time to come down." "Then we'll take our time," I said, reaching for her hand. "I'm not going anywhere, Sophia. Whatever complications you're worried about, we'll face them together." Over the following months, we built something beautiful together. Sophia taught me to paint, and I introduced her to my love of cooking. We created a gate between our properties, so we could move freely between our two homes. 2 gardens, 2 lives becoming one. A year later, as I watched Sophia work in our shared garden, I marveled at how perfectly our lives had intertwined. Love, I realized, wasn't about finding someone without complications. It was about finding someone worth navigating those complications for. "What are you thinking about?" Sophia asked, looking up from the roses she was pruning. "Just thinking about how sometimes the most beautiful things grow in unexpected places," I said, gesturing to the garden that now connected our 2 homes. She smiled, the kind of radiant expression that still made my heart skip beats. "Come help me with these roses," she said. "I want to show you something beautiful."